Buehler put together another dominant performance for the Boston Red Sox on Monday. Is he emerging as a true stud for this team's rotation?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's free. So you might as well continue to check it out because Locked On is here for you every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later because it is a great deal, but Walker Buehler is a big topic of conversation right now as he is coming off yet another dominant performance for the Boston Red Sox on Monday. I'm going to be talking about that performance on today's show, as well as goals for this season for Brayan Bello, who is expected to make his debut today against the Mariners. And also, I'm going to be explaining the City Connect jerseys in more detail because, honestly, I don't think everybody fully understands the backstory behind why the yellow and blue. So lots to talk about on today's show, but we have to talk about Walker Buehler. What a dominant performance by him in a Red Sox 4-2 Patriots Day win on Monday over the White Sox. Buehler went a full 7 innings, giving up 4 hits, but just 1 earned run. He did walk 3, but he also recorded 9 strikeouts in the game, bumping his ERA down to a 4.23 when it was previously a 5.23 prior to that. So very dominant outing for him. And he is pitching to a 1.96 ERA over his last 3 starts. He has looked very much more dominant than he did in his first couple starts of the season. His first 2 starts, he threw 9 1/3 innings, giving up 9 earned runs while striking out 7, walking 1, and giving up 3 homers. And in his last 3 starts, he's thrown 18 1/3 innings, giving up 4 earned runs with 19 strikeouts, 7 walks, and 1 home run. So he has walked some more guys over his last few starts than he did in his first couple in terms of the rate at which he is walking people. However, he's striking out a lot more guys and he's given up significantly less runs and he's been able to pitch deeper into games over his last 3 starts. That is exactly what I call forward progress, and it is 100% what we like to see from him because early on in his first couple starts, he was all over the place and looked to be a bit of a mess. And when he pitched for the Red Sox in the opening series at Fenway Park, he had the command, but he was getting hit hard. Now he seems to have adjusted to where he's mixing in his sweeper a lot more. And that was a pitch that was completely deadly in his start on Monday. So in terms of his pitch breakdown in Monday's game, he threw 63% strikes in that game and he got 11 whiffs in the deal. He threw 30 pitches of the 4-seam fastball, 19 pitches of the cutter, 15 pitches of the sinker, and 15 pitches of his sweeper. He also threw a 10-pitch knuckle curve, 8 pitches of a changeup, and 3 pitches of a slider for a total of 100 pitches through 7 innings. So a good mix of pitches that he used. And the sweeper is one that he should continue to go to because he's getting a lot of swing and miss stuff on that pitch. The velocity averaged 80.6 miles an hour on that pitch in Monday's game with a spin rate of 2,755. So that's a very strong pitch for him and one that's fooling a lot of players. Chase percentage on that pitch was 60% and whiff percentage was 50%. So he's getting fooled for a lot of guys with that pitch. He is able to trick these guys into swinging at it, and it's working very well for him. So I'd like to see him continue to mix that sweeper in there into that arsenal throughout the course of the rest of the season, because that is a pitch that was a put away pitch for him that allowed him to be very effective in Monday's game and get as deep into the game as he did. So the biggest thing for me that I'm seeing with Walker Buehler over his last few starts was that he had established that put away pitch, because earlier on he didn't really have that. And when there was base traffic, he was having trouble getting out of it. Whereas on Monday, he did run into base traffic a few times, but he was able to throw the pitch he needed to pitch at the right time. And he was able to get out of every jam that he was in. Early on in the outing, it took him a little bit to settle in. And after he settled in, he looked significantly better. He pitched poorly on Fenway's opening day and then just made sure that that wasn't going to happen for him again. And the White Sox did start the game off with 2 singles and a quick run, but he was able to effectively shut things down after that, working around traffic a couple times to post his best outing thus far in a Red Sox uniform. By lowering his ERA to 4.23, it makes people really feel like they're getting the version of Walker Buehler that they are paying for. This was his longest start since May 8th, 2022, which is huge for a guy like him who's battled through injury and has had 2 Tommy John surgeries over the course of his career. You don't really know what you're getting from a guy like him, but he was able to go in there, incorporate that sweeper, and that pitch was on Monday. And that was able to get lots of guys out. And I hope that he continues to do that throughout the rest of the season, is utilize that pitch in his arsenal, because it is a pitch that really works for him. So when he pitched on March 29th at the Rangers, he went just 4 1/3, giving up 7 hits and 4 earned runs, one of those being a home run, and he just struck out 3. Then in his next start, which was the Fenway home opener versus the Cardinals, he pitched through 5 innings, giving up 7 hits and 5 earned runs, 2 home runs, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. So although he was able to go a couple batters deeper than he did in his Red Sox debut, he still gave up a good amount of runs, and he wasn't able to manage the base traffic as much. Then his next start was April 10th versus the Blue Jays. 6 1/3 innings, giving up 4 hits and just 1 earned run. And that was not on a home run. 1 walk and 7 strikeouts. So that was when you really saw the change in Walker Buehler. His ERA went from an 8.68 to a 5.74 after that solid start against the Blue Jays on April 10th. And then on April 15th, at the Rays, he went 5 innings, giving up 3 hits and 2 earned runs. He did give up a home run, but 3 walks and 3 strikeouts. So although the walks have still been something that is to consider in all of this, it's not to the point where he's just walking the house quite yet. And while he doesn't always have his best command, he can still be efficient when he comes back with his strongest pitches to get guys out. And that's what makes for the best pitchers in this sport. And that's why I feel like moving forward, we could see some really good stuff from Buehler, because he knows how to adjust in game, even if there are certain things that are not going his way. For example, if he can't locate a certain pitch and he continuously is missing the strike zone on that pitch, one thing I've really liked that he's been able to do is adapt and go to a different pitch that has been more effective for him. So I really like the way that Buehler has been able to utilize a variety of different pitches. He relies on 7 total pitches generally, which is a 4-seamer, a cutter, a sinker, that sweeper I was talking about, the knuckle curve, the changeup, and the slider. And generally, he throws his 4-seamer 26.7% of the time, the cutter 22.3% of the time, the sinker 15% of the time, the sweeper 13.2%, the knuckle curve 12%, the changeup 10.3%, and the slider very rarely at 0.6%. So if he could incorporate that sweeper more than 13.2% of the time and maybe cut down a little bit of his usage of the cutter and sinker, and he makes the four-seamer and the sweeper his two primary pitches that he is throwing, I think we could see a lot more success from him. His fastball still is hitting about 93 miles an hour, and while we would like to see it be a little bit faster, it hasn't been a nightmare for him, and it was able to work against the White Sox yesterday. So that's something to keep in mind too, is his fastball velocity could definitely use a little bit more improvement and could be something to look out for moving forward. But overall, I liked a lot of what I saw from Buehler in terms of his ability to just get guys out and generate swing and miss stuff. These White Sox hitters could not figure him out after he settled in after that first inning. So a big confidence boosting start for Walker Buehler. If he continues to have starts like this, he could be seen as that number 2 starter behind Garrett Crochet. And that would be absolutely huge for the Red Sox, especially with the struggles that Tanner Houck has had this year. So being able to slot Buehler in confidently behind Crochet could be a huge boost for this rotation. So hopefully we see him continue to pitch effectively in that regard. And speaking of pitchers, what are the goals for Brayan Bello heading into the season as he looks his return in the eye? That's coming up next. The NBA playoffs are fully in action, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on that action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From 3-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. You will not want to miss out on this great deal, I promise you. So make sure you check out FanDuel. The Red Sox are coming off of a really solid win against the Chicago White Sox on Monday, 4-2, improving their record to 13-11 on the season. And most importantly, getting a big win on Patriots Day, a day that means so much to the city of Boston, the day of the Boston Marathon, and especially what took place in 2013. It's a day where the city comes together even more now, and it shows even more meaning for the city. And the Boston Red Sox have been struggling over the last few seasons on Patriots Day, where they had lost their Patriots Day game the last 3 years. So being able to come back and win this game yesterday was huge. So the Red Sox currently still sit in third place in the AL East as they hope to continue to win games and get themselves back on track to hopefully making their way up to that number 1 spot. They are 13-11. The Blue Jays are right in front of them at 12-10, and the Yankees lead the division at 14-8 right now. The Red Sox are currently 2 games back of those first place Yankees. So hopefully they can get themselves to a point where they are consistently able to win more games, starting with this series upcoming against the Seattle Mariners. And there is a pitcher who's going to be making his debut for the Red Sox tonight in the game, and that is Brayan Bello, who I spoke with after one of his rehab starts in AAA, and he said he's just very excited to get back to Fenway and be healthy, and he feels like the Red Sox have a very talented team this year and one that can go deep into the postseason. So he's excited to be able to contribute to that and feel like he can be a part of that. And upon asking him how he feels about coming back to Fenway, I also asked him about his pitch arsenal, because in the second half of the season last year, he found a lot more success than he had in the first half. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that he decided to mix his fastball back into his arsenal again, because earlier on in the season, he was moving more away from the fastball because that was Andrew Bailey's strategy, and that's what he wanted to see out of his pitchers, was them going and moving away from their fastball and utilizing the off-speed stuff a little bit more. And Bello had some trouble acclimating to that. So because of that, the Red Sox made some adjustments and said, okay, why don't we let him utilize his fastball more again? And sure enough, that is exactly what he did do. And he was able to get himself back on track in the second half of the season. So going into this season, I'm going to be looking for more of that from him, looking for him to utilize that pitch because that's what he's most comfortable with. Because if that can be his lockdown pitch, then he should be able to generate some more swings and misses. Because one of the biggest things with Brayan Bello that over the course of his career hasn't always been a strong suit is his ability to generate strikeouts. And he needs to be able to rack up more strikeouts if he wants to be a guy who can be seen as a super reliable starting pitcher for this Red Sox rotation. And the rotation outside of Crochet is pretty wide open right now in terms of who can slot in where, because Garrett Crochet has undoubtedly been the ace of the staff. Then you have Walker Buehler, who I talked about on this show, who had another dominant performance on Monday against the White Sox. So if he continues in that direction, maybe he could be the number two. But Tanner Houck certainly overall has not been pitching like a number two starter since the start of the season. So could Brayan Bello slot into that number two spot? Potentially. We have to go and see how he throws this year, and hopefully he's able to be consistent, because if he has a good season, he could very well be looked at as the Red Sox number two starter. So this year is a big opportunity for him to go out there and make things happen and be a guy who can be seen as a consistently good starter. Because the problem with Bello in the past was that he wasn't always super consistent, and especially during day games, he struggled. So I would be curious to see if he changes anything about his routine for day games now when he has to make a start, and see if he finds a little bit more success during those games, because in the past he has had trouble with adjusting to the start time being earlier. And that could be hard on any pitcher because they have their set routine before games. And if they have to abbreviate that a little bit, or they're at the point where they can't do as in-depth of a regular routine as they usually do for games, sometimes it can throw them off. So I'm hoping that he has found a good system for how he can adapt to day games and be able to get himself to a point where he's pitching effectively both in those starts and at night. I am very excited to see him out there. He has been out with a shoulder issue, but is now ready to go against a Mariners team that is playing red hot right now. So he has to be able to shut down that offense. It's the fourth consecutive series win that the Mariners just picked up. So they want to continue to play good baseball. Red Sox just came off of 2 series wins in a row, both of which were solid against the Tampa Bay Rays and the Chicago White Sox, and they are looking to maintain their momentum as well. So the thing with Brayan Bello is that he has been a guy who the Red Sox have felt like could get to the potential of being potentially a number one starter. Now that they have their number one starter in Garrett Crochet, they don't necessarily need him to reach that kind of potential. But if that's what he's aiming for, then he can hopefully work his way to the point where he can be a reliable number two. And that's the nice thing about acquiring a true ace and the guy you acquired actually performing like an ace, because now it takes a lot of pressure off of the other guys in the rotation to perform at that high of a level. So when Brayan Bello is back in full force, hopefully this means that he can now get to the point where he can be a solid number two behind Garrett Crochet, especially to help pull the weight of guys like Walker Buehler, who we still don't know 100% if what we saw yesterday is going to be him moving forward, and a guy like Tanner Houck, who has been struggling to start the season. So big opportunity here for Brayan Bello. The 25-year-old native of the Dominican Republic is heading into his 4th year in the big leagues, all with the Red Sox. He's 28-27 lifetime with a 4.42 ERA, and is coming off a year in which he went 14-8 with a 4.49 ERA. In 4 career starts against the Mariners, he has a 3-0 record with a 3.63 ERA. He actually started against them on opening day in 2024, a game in which the Red Sox won at T-Mobile Park. Never forget that the Red Sox started their season last year on the West Coast, and that was absolutely brutal. He has struggled a bit on his rehab assignment, going 0-2 with a 7.71 ERA through 2 starts with AA Portland and 2 starts with AAA Worcester. He did strike out 21 batters over 14 innings, though. And like I said, the strikeouts were a big thing to note with him because that was always a weaker part of his game, that he wasn't able to rack up a lot of strikeouts. So if that's an area that continues to grow in his game, he could be in good shape. When I watched him pitch in Worcester, definitely did have some issues with command. And that's something I will say going into this start tonight and even beyond with him that we should keep an eye on. But he definitely understands what he has to do and what works for him and what didn't work for him going into this start. So I'm excited to see him return to play. And again, because the Red Sox have Garrett Crochet now, we don't need ace caliber stuff from Brayan Bello, but we do need a serviceable starter who can eat innings and ideally be able to go into the 6th inning in the majority of his outings. Kind of like we saw Walker Buehler go into the 7th, and he had been kind of working his way through pitching deeper and deeper into games over the course of his first few starts this year. Maybe we'll see that same thing with Brayan Bello. And I feel like the way that Bello looks early on could be a determining factor in what we see from him moving forward, because if he struggles a lot out of the gate, it could be fair to say, oh, they rushed him back. He's not really ready yet. He should have had a couple more rehab assignments. And if that's the case, then it could be hard for him to bounce back from that. Whereas if the reason that he struggles is just because he had trouble locating his command or he was just getting hit with bad luck, then that's a different conversation. So it really is going to depend on what the weaker points are in that outing. If he comes out there and has a really good start, then we can feel hopeful for his abilities going into this upcoming season with the Boston Red Sox. But my primary goal for him is to get him to be a serviceable pitcher that can be reliable in the middle of the order, going deeper into games and being a guy that the Red Sox can rely on out of this pitching staff to be able to go out there and get the job done on a consistent basis. And we definitely have seen him at his highs and we've seen him at his lows. Hopefully we can see more of those highs from him this upcoming season as the Red Sox look to build a rotation that can get them to the playoffs. Coming up, though, what exactly is the relevancy for the City Connect jerseys that the Red Sox wear? I'm going to be breaking all of that down and explaining it to you. Don't forget that you can subscribe to Locked On Red Sox on YouTube or any podcast platform. Just search for the show and every episode will be there. I am here Monday through Friday discussing the latest in all things Boston Red Sox. So you can find it there wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can also follow the show on Twitter at LO_Red Sox. You can follow me on Twitter at Gabby Maljanian, and you can follow me on Instagram at Gabby_Maljanian10, where I'm always discussing things related to the Boston Red Sox or even other Boston teams. So you can check out my accounts. You can also connect with other Red Sox fans through Red Sox Twitter. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to interact with other people who root for the same team as you do. But make sure that you're hitting that subscribe button to Locked On Red Sox. And I really do appreciate you making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a great show. I highly recommend it. So many talented Locked On hosts will keep you up to date on what happened around the league. For example, on Sunday, the Reds beat the Orioles 24-2. That was insane. If you want to hear how that happened, MLB Game Night is the place for you to get that information. So you can subscribe to that show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts as well. As the Boston Red Sox come off of a good series win against the Chicago White Sox, they also have reinforcements coming as Brayan Bello is set to make his debut tonight for the team. What will that entail? We still have yet to find out, but hopefully there is this sense of positive energy in the clubhouse as they start to get their guys back. And hopefully Brayan Bello goes out there and has a good outing to set the tone for the rest of the season and how it could go for this team. So excited to see his debut. But the Red Sox on Patriots Day and over the course of the weekend series wore their yellow and blue City Connect jerseys. What exactly is the relevancy of those? Not everybody knows that. And it's interesting because people are always like, why yellow? It's such an ugly color. Why are they wearing that bright of a color? Good question. So the jerseys stray from the traditional red and white color scheme for the club and is part of the City Connect program by Major League Baseball. There are rumors that the Red Sox will roll out new City Connect uniforms later this year, but this weekend and on Patriots Day, they wore the yellow and blue ones. The team was one of the first to have City Connect jerseys, which Major League Baseball introduced in 2021. So the jerseys feature Boston across the chest in a stencil font in blue letters that pays tribute to the finish of the Boston Marathon at Boylston Street. This year, new City Connect jerseys are being released for 5 more teams this spring, with the Rockies, the Giants, the Astros, and the Nationals, according to Major League Baseball. The league says it is planning to release more throughout the season as well. In 2024, there were 9 teams with new uniforms. Those were the Guardians, Tigers, Twins, Mets, Phillies, Cardinals, Rays, and Blue Jays. So lots of teams getting new ones, but what do the yellow and blue City Connect jerseys actually mean? The Boston Marathon inspired this color scheme. The shirts were bright yellow, and on the left sleeve, there was a patch that mimicked a marathon bib with the number 617, which is the area code for Boston and Fenway Park. The caps feature the iconic B, but were in sky blue. So it draws inspiration from the Boston Marathon, obviously an iconic event in the city, one of the biggest marathons in the entire world. And that was what got them the idea for the color scheme for the City Connect jerseys. In 2023, ESPN ranked it 7th out of 15 jerseys of the style. So obviously in the middle, they don't find them to be great. They don't find them to be super ugly. They're just somewhere in the middle. And I have actually seen people at Red Sox games wearing the yellow jersey. And I've always wondered, wow, I don't know if I could bring myself to get one of those, but it's more important that you understand the meaning behind them and what it represents. It represents the Boston Marathon. It represents unity and the city of Boston coming together. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the Red Sox have a good record when they wear those jerseys either, because you have a team that all comes together for a common cause to show their appreciation for the city of Boston and its community and everything that it has to offer. And it's interesting because over the last few seasons, when the Red Sox have gone through struggles in which they've been losing lots of games over an extended period of time, and they want to try to shake things up, they then wear the yellow uniforms, and sometimes that helps them rack up some more wins. So there's something to be said for them wearing those jerseys. So the yellow and blue is symbolic of what Patriots Day is all about. So every year they wear them for that series leading up to Patriots Day. And over the course of the season, every once in a while, they'll throw them on, but they really are meant to just be worn during that series to represent bringing the city of Boston together. And why this is so important is because it just serves as a reminder that community is the most important thing. And we are all one. And the city of Boston can come together through tragedy and through good times to be together in support of one another. And being part of a community like that just really makes Boston a truly special city. And there's always good vibes around the city for Marathon Weekend. I was there on Saturday for the Red Sox game, and the city was buzzing. The weather was nice, and it looked like the weather was nice again yesterday, nice and sunny, and people in good spirits for this race, and people coming in from all over the world to either participate in the Boston Marathon or root for family members or friends who are participating. So it really is a symbolic weekend and day for the Boston community. And the Red Sox being able to feed off of that type of energy and win the series is a really good sign for them moving forward. Walker Buehler had talked about heading into the series that he wanted to go out there and win for Boston, and that he was honored to be able to take the mound on a day that means so much to the city every single year, and being able to be the guy who can go out there and be at the helm and help lead the Red Sox to a win was something that he had very much been looking forward to. So very happy that he pitched as well as he did, because it will just put people in even better spirits as the marathon runners cross the finish line. And moving forward with these City Connect jerseys, if the Red Sox do lay out their new ones, hopefully the new ones still have some sort of connection to the Boston Marathon and the meaning of that, because we definitely don't want to take away from the overarching meaning of what the Boston Marathon is all about. And I hope that they can find a way to still be creative with the colors and make it so that they're still utilizing a similar color scheme, even if it isn't necessarily the same exact pattern or same combination of the colors. But continue to purchase those Yellow City Connect jerseys. Whether you like yellow or not, it's meaningful and symbolic to the city of Boston, and it truly shows and emphasizes that idea of community, and that we are all one, and that this is our effing city. So with that, go out and purchase those Red Sox yellow jerseys and enjoy the rest of your week. Hopefully the Red Sox can pick up a series win against the Mariners and continue to stick to those winning ways of playing good baseball. So hopefully they stay on track with that. Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today and every day. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.